I'm Grace, Communications Coordinator for the City of Ann Arbor's Office of Sustainability and Innovations, and welcome to Greenlight, where we dig into sustainability in Ann Arbor with the residents who are envisioning, creating, and establishing a sustainable and equitable future for our community. Supporting these goals and presenting this series is A20, the City of Ann Arbor's plan, vision, framework, and associated actions for a just and equitable transition to carbon neutrality community-wide by the year 2030. Today, we're shining the green light on Shoshannah Lenski, Executive Director of the Ann Arbor Sustainable Energy Utility here at the Bryant Community Center. Thank you for joining.
Good morning, Grace. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Thank
you for having me.
Absolutely. So I always start off by asking for the elevator pitch of who you are and what you do.
Great. Well, I'm Shoshannah Lenski, and I am the Executive Director of the Sustainable Energy Utility. At this time, I've been with the city for about 9 months, and I was brought in to turn the Sustainable Energy Utility from an idea into an actual operating utility.
Woohoo! So what is the Sustainable Energy Utility?
Well, the Sustainable Energy Utility, we call it sometimes the A2 SEU or the SEU for short, because it is a long name.
Yes.
It is a brand new and completely innovative model of a municipal energy utility that the city just created. Our voters authorized this overwhelmingly in November of 2024, and then in April of 2025, our city council created it as a department of the city. And the model for the Sustainable Energy Utility is that it is 100% renewable energy, and it is optional. So those who want to participate sign up, and those who don't. And it's a supplemental utility, which is the concept that is sort of the most unusual of all, despite the whole thing being unusual. But it means that the SEU is not taking over or entirely replacing the traditional energy utility or the traditional energy grid where people get their power. It is supplementing it. It is adding a layer on top of clean energy and operating in parallel to the existing grid.
So what does that actually mean for residents? What does that experience really look like?
Yeah, so the way it will work for residents who sign up to participate, and when I say residents, it can be homeowners, it can be renters and their landlords working together. It can also be businesses that are inside the city can sign up to participate. What will happen is that the city, through the SEU, will own and install and operate and maintain renewable energy assets in the city and serving the load of those city residents or customers. And that energy will be things like solar power and batteries, geothermal energy. And because we own these assets, just like other utilities own power plants, like, right? You don't own a piece of, a utility's power plant. The city will own it, and that means residents or participants don't pay anything up front. They simply pay an energy bill for the services that they receive. So they'll stay connected to the traditional grid, but they'll buy a lot less energy from it because the renewable energy assets serving their property will be covering some portion of their energy use, whether that's 25% or 99%. So they'll buy a lot less energy from the traditional grid, but they will stay connected, and then they'll buy some portion of their energy from the SEU via a monthly utility bill. And what's cool is that we're working on the details of rates, but basically the sum of those two bills afterward, your traditional bill plus your SEU bill, should be equal to or less than what you were paying before. So in some ways, It means that people can get clean renewable energy basically for free at no additional cost.
That's incredible. Wow. So just to make sure I have this right, if I'm Grace and I'm a resident of the city of Ann Arbor, which I am, and I say, I want to be a part of the SEU says, that's great. And then you come and put solar panels on my house?
That's basically it, yes.
Wow. And then I just pay a bill like I would normally.
Exactly.
But I'm just getting the energy from the solar panels on my house.
Exactly, yes.
That's
and you don't
incredible.
you don't have to talk to a dozen contractors to figure out who you want to put what on your roof, and you don't have to maintain the systems. We're going to monitor and maintain the systems for their lifetime, take care of all of the maintenance that needs to happen.
Wow. So what has been going on then with the SEU lately?
Yeah. Well, so as I mentioned, the SEU is just about a year old. We just had our first birthday as an official unit of city government. I'd say the first 6 months, we're really focused on sort of standing up the very basic strategic decisions and planning to get the SEU going. And the last 6 months have been about building toward implementation.
The fun stuff.
The really fun stuff, getting ready to like actually be an operating utility. And if you think about it, starting any utility from scratch, I mean literally from scratch, right? When it was formed, it had no employees, it had no budget or dollars, any of this, right? So totally starting from scratch and a new model. So there's no playbook to follow for how do you start a brand new utility that's never been created before. So the last 6 months have been a lot of the like really nitty gritty work of what you need to run a utility, which means we needed to design and engineer the actual systems that are going to be provided.
How is this going to work?
Yes, and we needed to develop processes and process maps, right? We needed to acquire and start implementing all the software systems that it takes to actually run a utility. We had to procure our equipment, so we did competitive procurement to select the very best panels and batteries, which are the first systems we're going to deploy, to get the best value for residents and to make the SEU a success. We had to hire contractors who will actually do the installations for us and get really experienced solar contractors to make sure that they were going to deliver a great experience to the residents who are taking service. Those are we had to develop regulations, right? That kind of govern like the terms and service, the terms of service. We had to set up a budget, and then we had to develop rates. These are just a few of the things that like had to happen over the last 6 months, essentially, to be ready to begin delivering service. And the most exciting thing is that just in the past month, we have actually begun delivering service, and we've installed our first systems in the Bryant neighborhood, right here outside of where we're sitting, as part of the pilot program.
That is so exciting, and that was going to be my next question. Tell me more about the work that's happening here in Bryant with the SEU.
Yeah, so let me start with the city has had a long partnership with the Bryant neighborhood, and that is why our pilot is happening here. The city, particularly the Office of Sustainability and Innovations, has been working with the community here, which is comprised of a little over 260 residential households in the neighborhood, working with them on their vision that the neighborhood residents committed to of wanting to be the first carbon neutral existing neighborhood in America. It's really hard to do carbon neutrality. Places that people have tried it tend to be in new development where you're starting sort of from scratch, and it's a little bit easier to build with all these modern systems. But to take an existing neighborhood that has it has all of the homes and the infrastructure already here. And what does it look like to transition that? That's a heavier lift. And so the work here has been in partnership with the Community Action Network and in partnership with the residents to really listen to their feedback about what they need, what their priorities are, and that includes things like upgrades for comfort and safety and health and efficiency. Many residents in the neighborhood are energy burdened, meaning that they put a large portion of their income toward their utility bills. And so part of what we're also trying to do is bring affordable energy to the neighborhood. So that brings us to the SEU. One part of going carbon neutral in the neighborhood is powering these homes with renewable energy. And thanks to two very generous grants from the Michigan Public Service Commission and from the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, we have funds to put solar and battery systems on about 100 homes in the neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to get more than a third of the homes here powered with renewable energy. And that is the work that has just begun. We kicked off with a community meeting here in March, and in May we got our first systems going up on rooftops and powering homes.
That's really fast. That's so exciting.
It is incredibly exciting.
So, in all of this conversation about the SEU and what it is, something that I've heard you mention that I'm curious to hear more about is, what is a virtual power plant?
Yes. Okay. So one of the things that we're able to do in the Bryant neighborhood here, I should go back a little bit and just say the systems that we're installing on residents' homes here are solar plus batteries. So we're installing rooftop solar panels, 10 panels, it's 4.5 kW or kilowatts of energy production, plus this whole home battery, which really helps optimize how the solar is used so that if the energy is being produced when the sun is shining during the day, it can get stored in the battery and used overnight. And the batteries also provide sort of resilient backup power. In case there's an outage on the traditional grid, then the battery can kick in and power the home. So we have both solar panels and batteries, and that means we can do something called a virtual power plant, sometimes called a VPP. Folks who are following the energy space might have heard about it. It's getting a lot of buzz in the energy world. So to tell you about what a virtual power plant is, let's start with just a traditional power plant. Most people probably have some idea what that is, right? But it tends to be like a large, centralized facility somewhere way off, not usually, certainly not next door to where we live here in Ann Arbor, that is burning fossil fuels in
I'm
most
picturing
cases,
a huge
right?
building with a smokestack and like
burning some coal or burning some methane gas, or sometimes fueled by nuclear fuel, right? And that is generating electricity in this centralized place. That is then the electricity is transported via poles and wires, often many hundreds of miles, to reach the eventual end user, right? So that is a traditional power plant. Now, you could think about a solar system, including like a small rooftop one, as it is also a power plant. It is producing power. It's just doing it right where it is needed, so it doesn't have to get transported, and it's doing it for the load of the facility that it's serving. So it's not, sharing energy or producing a massive amount, but it's like a tiny, tiny little baby power plant, your rooftop solar. And what's cool, what happens when you call it a virtual power plant is you take all these small systems and you aggregate them and you say, I'm going to sum those up and deploy them sort of together, and together they are like a big power plant.
working together.
Working together, exactly.
Wow.
Yes, and then you add in the batteries, and the batteries, they turn this solar power plant into what's called a dispatchable resource. So one thing that energy companies love about fossil fuel power plants is that you can turn them on and you can turn them off when you need them to run and when you don't need them to run, depending on when and where you need that energy.
Yeah.
Now, we know that you can't turn the sun on and off as much as I would like to say, I got a garden party this weekend, let me turn the sun on.
Turn that down a little bit.
We can't control when the sun shines. But battery energy storage really does allow us to turn that solar power or other sort of intermittent renewable energy like wind as well into this dispatchable resource that you can turn on and off. So when the sun is shining, you fill up your battery, and then when you need that energy, you turn it on or you dispatch the battery. You tell it to send that power into the home. And so by having all these batteries here in the Bryant neighborhood, we're going to have 100 of them, right? 100 solar systems and 100 batteries. We can turn those on when the grid needs that power or when those homes need that power. And then it really is operating as this very powerful dispatchable energy resource.
That's so cool. And my next question was going to be, well, how do the batteries play a role in it? But they're helping move that power around.
Exactly, and say when it's used.
Yeah, wow, that is really cool. Now, what are the benefits of a virtual power plant?
Yeah, well, it takes a long time to build a traditional power plant, right? It takes many years and hundreds of millions of dollars to construct these things. There's all sorts of permitting then for the transmission lines that move that energy. And virtual power plants, the resources can be built really fast, right? Every one of the solar systems that we're putting up, it gets installed in a day. Yeah, there's a couple weeks of lead time for some permitting and inspections afterwards, but they're really, really fast to build. So you can build the power that our grid needs faster by using these decentralized or distributed clean energy. Of course, it has the benefit that it's clean and renewable and is not polluting our neighborhoods and not polluting communities that are next door to where these large power plants often are, right? And they often face these environmental injustices being right next to a power plant. So it's fast and it tends to be cheaper and it's greener. And so all of those combined, and it's where it needs to happen, right? So again, you don't have to build the wires.
Yeah, something that Dr. Missy Stoltz says, director of the Office of Sustainability and Innovations, that I've really enjoyed hearing her say is, why wait? Like, let's just build the system that we want now. Like, let's just get out there. It just feels so exciting.
Yes.
I mean, I watched for the A20 week event yesterday, the SEU walking tour. That system went up over the course of the hour that we were there. They started putting panels on and then they were done by the time the event was over. It was so cool.
Yes, yeah, it's really fast.
Yeah. Are there any virtual power plants in Michigan already?
There are not, and the Sustainable Energy Utility is really hoping to be part of the first or one of the very first to go here, because we have these systems that are ready. They're ready to be part of a virtual power plant. Virtual power plants are used all around the nation. There's many other utilities and communities that have stood up virtual power plant programs and are seeing demonstrable benefits, quantifiable benefits from it, delivering clean energy to the grid at scale and delivering benefits to the participants who are hosting the solar and the batteries at their homes or their facilities. So we know that this model works, and we're ready for Michigan to test one out.
That is so exciting.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell me about the SEU?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about what we're doing right now in our pilot here in the Bryant neighborhood, which is so exciting. But that's just the very beginning, and we are in parallel to implementing the Bryant pilot. We are preparing to scale and offer services citywide in 2027, and then for many years beyond that. So we're hoping to serve hundreds or 1,000 participants or customers next year. And So the thing I would say is, like, if people in Ann Arbor are interested in this, if they want to participate, I would ask them to sign up. We have an expression of interest form on our website at a2seu.com. It's right at the top there. It says expression of interest. There's no commitment required. We know that we don't have all the details out there right now for people to decide if they are officially ready to participate. We will be preparing and offering rates later this fall, so people will then be really ready to sign up and sign on a dotted line and say, serve me. But for now, this is just expressing interest, and folks will be, they'll be eligible to be served next year, and they'll start receiving our monthly newsletter, so they can just hear a little bit more of what we're talking about today, how things are progressing, and be ready, know when it's time to get service.
That is so exciting. Well, thank you so much, Shoshannah, for joining. This is so exciting, and I feel really fortunate to get to be here and talk to you and be a part of all of this that's happening.
Thank you, Grace. It's a delight to be here, and thank you for the time.
Yeah, and where is it, remind me, that people can go if they're interested to learn more?
They can go to a2seu.com.
Perfect. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you.
To learn more about the SEU and about A20, go to a20.org. Have a question you want to ask to a sustainability expert in the city of Ann Arbor, or a story you'd like to share? Let us know at sustainability@a2gov.org. This has been Greenlight. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you again soon.